China and the Philippines have shared a long-enduring relationship. Just look at the over 400-year-old Binondo, the oldest Chinatown in the world, being situated in the Philippines. Throughout their long withstanding historical ties, they have shared interethnic relations, territorial disputes, maritime conflicts, diplomacy and foreign policy, trade and economic partnerships. The Philippines-China trade started way back between Tang Dynasty during their Silk Road. The trade peaked during Ming Dynasty between 1368 to 1644. But it was only 44 years ago until the formal diplomatic and trade relations between Philippines and China. They visited Babuyan Islands, Ilocos, Cagayan de Oro, Laguna, Cebu and Bohol. Their travel around the Philippines lasted about 20 days long with 4 or 5 days per area. On the deck of the junk, different products were being sold and the natives exchanged goods such as gold, cotton, silk, rattan, fruits, pearls, honey, furnitures, spices. Formal Philippine-Taiwan relations ended on June 5, 1975 when the Philippines, then under the martial law government of Ferdinand D. Marcos, opened diplomatic relations with China under U.S. President Nixon, Chairman Mao Zedong, and Prime Minister Zhou Enlai. Then, even before the Spaniards came, China has been trading with the natives in the Philippines and it resulted to having Chinese immigrate in the area. The Manila is also one of the country to be in Chinese barter trading route together with Fujian, Timor, and Malacca. Now, China remained the Philippines' biggest source of import with 20.8% share in 2017. For the Philippines, these active bilateral trade and recent regional developments will benefit its domestic economy while improving diplomatic relations. For China, such initiatives will further elevate its economic influence in the region while neutralizing its aggressive image in asserting maritime claim. Then, sometimes, a mestizo retained the name of his Chinese father, making such transliterated names from the Chinese ideograph as Ko, Dan, Lim, Yap, Ong, Ui, Filipino surnames. Another way was to create a Filipino name by combining parts of the full name of the Chinese father. Thus when the full name of the Chinese father was Tihon Ki, the mestizo children might decide to create a new name, Tihenki. The same also explains the proliferation of names once Chinese and later Romanized into forms like Yuzan, Lim Cao, Lim Kwako, Longsan. If a Chinese name like Yap Tinche had been popularly known as Yap Tinko, using the Hokkien, the dialect of Fujian where most of the Philippine Chinese came from, polite suffix ko, meaning elder brother, with the personal name, the new name might be Yetinko. Now, this explains why there are today numerous Filipino names that end in ko, names like Sichinko, Anganko, Tantoko, Tanchenko, Tantuiko, Tanmuko, Kowonko, Sijuko, Hongsiko, Salyangko, Upanko, Tanko, Yanko, etc. Then, Madrid authorities tried various means to sow discord between different races and classes in their colonial possessions. One approach Mas suggested to promote rivalry and jealousy between the two classes was to declare the rank of gobernadorcillo for the Indios superior to that meant for the mestizo. Now, since the April 2012 standoff over the Scarborough Shoal, Philippine and Chinese media have given the security tensions significant coverage that have negatively affected the views and still strongly influential among many members of the ruling political elite in the Philippines is the Cold War vintage mindset of determining foreign policy based on ideology. Perceptions of ordinary citizens from both countries. There were incidents of cyber attacks by Filipino and Chinese netizens on each other's private and government websites. Public opinion polls in the Philippines also reveal a negative trust rating on China since 2012, while the Chinese view the Philippines as the second least trustworthy country after Japan. in the classic Chinese text by Dao De Jing, states that the three greatest treasures one can have are love, frugality, and generosity. This rings a bell for Filipinos who love UK or flea markets, bargain shops, and sale items. Those with street smarts perennially ask walayang tuwad? Lighting fireworks in New Year. This belief, which originated from Chinese, could ward off bad luck and the evil spirits. The fireworks display is also their way of starting the new year with a bright and colorful start. A few days before New Year's Eve, Filipinos would put 12 round fruits on their table. The number 12 symbolizes the months in a year. Feng experts say this practice would attract happiness, prosperity and good health in one's family. In China, red envelopes, anpao, are the standard gift for any celebration, and they are considered the best gifts because the recipient can do anything with the money. Both Chinese and mostly Filipinos are believer of lucky numbers and lucky colors. Sometimes, these also affect their attitude towards things on daily basis. Both Chinese and Filipinos believe in zodiac signs and zodiac system. Speaking of food, we all know that a lot of our favorite food is of Chinese origin. Food was one of the greatest influence and contribution of China to the Philippines. Some words Filipinos still use today, like tangoy, which means lamp, susi, which means key, chak, which means tea, tiyahani, which means tweezers, and mangkok, which means bowl. Growing Philippines-China relations, boon or bane? Many political observers believe that the Duterte administration's soft stance on the issue of militarization in the West Philippines Sea has generated more gains for Beijing than for Manila. The lack of strong diplomatic action and protest over the documented instances of Chinese harassment and bullying of Filipino fishermen is alarming. Meanwhile, the significant increase of imports from China, as well as the surge of Chinese arrivals in the Philippines, apparently favor the Asian power more than the Philippines. Recently, some senators expressed concern over the growing number of Chinese workers in the country and its effect on the local workforce. Data from the Bureau of Immigration showed that more than 1 million Chinese entered the country in 2017 alone, either as a tourist or as a worker. Senator Joel Villanueva, chair of the Committee on Labor, warned that these Chinese nationals might be stealing jobs from Filipinos. More than 119,000 Chinese tourists have skirted labor regulations to gain temporary employment in the country. Philippine President Rodrigo Duterte tells China to lay off island in disputed South China Sea. Duterte said his comment was not a warning, but rather a word of advice to a friend. This follows a statement made by the Foreign Affairs Ministry calling the presence of Chinese boats near the island illegal. The Philippines military has described the boats as a suspected maritime militia. Such actions, when not repudiated by the Chinese government, are deemed to have been adopted by it, the Department of Foreign Affairs said in a rare rebuke of Beijing. China and Philippines sign oil and gas exploration deal as Xi Jinping meets Rodrigo Duterte. Xi describes visit as milestone in relations, saying they will continue to manage contentious issues and promote maritime consultation. Duterte says there is deepening trust and confidence of government. Beijing and Manila have agreed to a joint oil and gas exploration deal, one of 29 deals that were signed on Tuesday as Chinese President Xi Jinping began a two-day state visit to the Philippines. The two nations also signed a memorandum of understanding to cooperate on Beijing's vast trade and infrastructure strategy, the Belt and Road Initiative, and agreed to boost ties,